In the currency quadrant, taking a look at the March British pound, the sterling finished the day slightly lower, but it's still up 6 of the last 8 sessions, and all in since the low close on December 25th. The pound is still up 5.3%. You look at today and it was much more skewed to the downside. 127.91 was the high. That was only up 18 basis points, so just short of 0.2%. The low, though, down 1/3% or 34 basis points. 127.24, and as we came into the New York close, we were still down a little bit more than 0.1%, which is why I classified it as finishing slightly lower. Now you look at the weekly data. The weekly we still completed it higher, completing its 8th up week in the last 11 for the British pound, so positive move on the weekly charts. UK data last night, there was a pretty large data dump, economic data dump this morning, and it was very mixed. The 3-month average of UK GDP came in at 0.2%. That's positive, but much weaker than the expectation. And year-over-year GDP for November came in at up 0.2%, which was better than last month, only slightly positive. Month-over-month GDP was also plus 0.3, which is better than expectation and reversed last month's negative numbers. But construction output was only up 0.9%. It was expected to be up over 1%. I think around 1.2% was the expectation. And industrial production and manufacturing production both were disappointing as well versus expectations, as well as versus next month's read, or I should say last month's read. Lastly, the UK monthly GDP tracker for December is predicting growth of 0%. So that's about as mixed as it gets. On top of that, in the US, rate cuts are being priced in very aggressively. Currently, the US markets have 25 basis points of cuts priced in every month starting in March. That, of course, is going to weaken the dollar if it actually comes to fruition. There's some question about that. But you just look at the US yield curve, and the 2-year lost 23 basis points in yield this week. The 10-year lost 9, 5-year lost 17, 30-year lost 2. All of that makes the dollar a little bit weaker, giving strength to all the majors, including the British pound.